What are you noticing in terms of agents and how that intersects with commerce?
A couple of the core shifts we're seeing is that shopping is just fundamentally changing. Agents are a huge part of that. It's like the new front door to commerce almost. On the AI commerce side of things, it's growing like 9 times faster than social commerce and nearly 3 times faster than mobile did at this stage. We're in another generational shift in how people are shopping.
What are you excited about the future of what's to come?
This is unique to me, but I love
Andrew, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me back.
When did we record? Like 3-4 months ago? Something like that?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, 4
Yeah.
months ago, probably.
And it seems like a lot has changed in that time. We were having a bit of a preamble before this. There's a lot of new features, specifically within Shopify. And then we were talking about the larger kind of macro ecosystem of what agents are now enabling as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even in general, the last 6 months, since December when the significantly updated Opus models changed and, we just had like a huge, huge shift in how people were using these models, in terms of coding and development. And now we're seeing that same shift kind of hit, shopping and, merchants. So yeah, totally different world than last time we chatted.
Yeah. I wanna know more about that from your perspective, right? Like for me, the kind of word of the moment for the past 6 months is agents. I was actually just down in Florida doing a presentation for a HR conference on everything that's possible with agents, right? And people have many different experiences. You could have an OpenClaw or a Hermes agent. I know that you've got some like personal anecdotes that you can talk about with
Mhm.
this. And also like you can have agentic experiences within Claude or OpenAI and like different tools that you're using. But I'm wondering from your perspective, like on the Shopify side of things, what are you noticing in terms of agents and how that intersects with commerce?
Yeah, I think a couple of the core shifts we're seeing is that shopping is just fundamentally changing. I think, we're going from like retail stores to desktops and, what is the surface of tomorrow that people are shopping on? And I think the way that people are, are finding ways to buy are just multiplying. And I think agents are a huge part of that. It's like the new front door to commerce almost. Like it's it's been crazy. I think one way we think about it is that like anytime there's like a big platform shift or a new way of doing things, it seems to it seems to really grow, the pie, so to speak. We don't see like, you know, other shopping services go away or anything like this. I think we really see that now shopping is available in agents and everyone is using agents and a lot of shopping is happening in that surface and more shopping is happening. So yeah, we just continue to keep building for everyone. We want to be everywhere so that, when our merchants want to sell on any kind of platform in any kind of way, we're right there for them, kind of on the head of that curve.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yesterday I had a conversation with David McIntosh of Instacart. And they've obviously got like they work with a bunch of retail stores, but they also now have like a physical cart that's enabled with AI that like gives you a running total and like automatically counts your shopping and charges your card at home. And they're now integrating a bunch of agentic features as well, right? So it's like you can walk into a store and say, I've got $30 to spend. I want to make this dinner, but my first child is allergic to this, and my second child is has this problem. And through like these agentic experiences, you can have this level of convenience and ease that wasn't possible before.
Yeah.
Um, and I really like I kind of want to know from your side of things, being a Shopify side of things, like how are you enabling this agentic functions for your customers, for your users? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think there's a couple different audience here. I think there's the buyer, which you were talking about. There's a merchant. how do we do the best thing for them and get them in all these services, which as with as little as work as possible on their end, or how do we help them optimize for this as well and capture the data from it? And then there's just, buyers that are making their own agents and this kind of thing. One product that we shipped recently inside the shop app, so the purple shopping app, is that a completely, very personalized shopping experience and agent directly inside that app. So there's always search functionality inside this app. But a very, very personalized shopping assistant is now available to use, which knows you, learns about you as you shop, knows, what type of products you're interested in, what your style of purchasing, your budgeting, etc. And it provides a pretty incredible experience in an agent with directly integrating to, the catalog and showing products right there on the screen, and you can select them, ask more about it. So it's a great experience. And it also learn about different personas, or like, let's say you shop for different family members. It's gonna learn from that and be like, oh, okay, you're shopping for your dog, or you have a cat even, or you have children. As you search through, it's gonna learn and optimize for who you're shopping for as well, because not everyone just shops for one person.
Mm. What have you noticed in terms of customer feedback from this?
Uh, we're having higher conversion rate on this than traditional search. So we're seeing that this is a surface that people are using more and more. We're also seeing people's search queries shift from traditional keyword type queries. Once they learn that there's the potential of an agent there as well, their behavior kind of shifts into um, more natural language queries. I think we saw this anyways, like on search engines, over a period of time, but it's happening in shopping too, and people's behaviors are shifting to heavy research when shopping, looking at many products quickly, and yeah, just in general doing a lot more research, and therefore it leads to higher conversion. So the feedback is very positive on how accessible that makes it, and the improved relevance via the personalization and really getting to know you as a shopper, because the more you use it, the more it adapts to you and how you search. And therefore, they're coming back and using it more and more, because everyone searches differently, right?
For sure. It just becomes like more personalized over time. I think where my brain goes to with this is I'm really curious about the data side of things, right? So, for example, you're integrating this feature that personalizes shopping, understands shopping behaviors, customer insights, and data in general is like one of the biggest moats that you can possibly have in 2026. So I'm curious how you, as the Shopify team, think about this. You're building this incredibly huge data set of customer buying behavior, like potentially one of the largest. So how does that work internally? What do the conversations in these executive rooms look like when you're talking about the data that you're collecting?
Yeah, I think the play here on personalization for us is that we're using the data that you are using with the agent to personalize your shopping experience for you. So like some people when they're browsing, they're looking for shoes, and they just want tons and tons of shoes. They want to scroll through very quickly, and we can learn this behavior from them using it. And there's other people, maybe they're buying like a motherboard or something, and they have like a very specific need. You're not going to scroll through a whole bunch of motherboards based on pictures, and there's just different kind of shoppers. Or like when I'm looking for a boot or a shoe, just show me like one or two options. I want the best ones for like hiking, being up north fishing, etc., being out in the bush, and I just want the best waterproof hiking shoe. I don't want to flip through many pictures. So, where where the agent is learning for me to be heavy research based, find the exact product, where someone else, it might be like show them tons and let them scroll through. This is how that data is coming back and being like hyper personalized for each individual.
Give me 30 seconds and I'll give you the secret to effective AI implementation. If you like the AI report, you already know what we're about: cutting through the hype and helping leaders actually use AI. At Upscale, we're more than a newsletter or even this podcast. We work with global organizations like the Society for Human Resource Management and Fisher Phillips Law Partners to train entire departments, boosting efficiency and productivity by an average of 41% in just weeks. If you want your company ahead of the curve instead of chasing it, book a free strategy call at upscale.com. That's UPSCAILE.com. Schedule today and future-proof your tomorrow.
Agent commerce. Talk to me about UCP. I'd heard of it before. We had a bit of a preamble before, so I'm kind of curious if you can break that down for us and we can really decipher what's going on here.
Yeah, I think on the AI commerce side of things, it's growing like 9 times faster than social commerce and nearly 3 times faster than mobile did at this stage. And these two things, like mobile and social, both changed the way a lot of people do shopping, kind of reshaped commerce. And I think we're in another generational shift in how people are shopping, and that's agents. So the UCP is a Unified Commerce Protocol, which is a protocol made by a whole bunch of e-commerce companies, like Meta, Etsy, Shopify, Mastercard. I think there's a whole bunch of companies here that agreed that this was a great protocol for exposing uh, catalog APIs for the different shopping platforms. So, in our data, we see that like catalog powered AI search is converting like 2 times better than general AI search, and orders coming to Shopify stores from AI are actually up 13x. Um,
And sorry, to break that down from a user experience perspective, right? Like that's someone typing in ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity. I want to find boots for fishing in northern Canada in November, and then it links through to Shopify specific store,
that's right. Yeah.
right? And the increase in this has been enabled because of Universal Commerce Protocol. And can you break down what catalog APIs are?
Yeah. So catalog API is an API that follows the Universal Commerce Protocol, which exposes the Shopify catalog basically. So as a merchant, you have the ability to enable this sales channel. And if you've enabled the sales channel, then um, you will, your products maybe start to be exposed in agents that have integrated the UCP.
Okay, and I mean, like the logic behind this is like as a frontier model that you're using, because it's built on UCP and because it's cataloged there, there's just more inherent trust built. So when that AI goes through and it kind of ranking all these search terms and what is the most trustworthy, because it's built on this and because it's attached to Shopify, it's kind of more likely to recommend it, right?
Yeah, that's right. And then we've built dashboards and tooling inside Shopify so that as a merchant, you're able to view this data. You can even use Sidekick to help optimize your exposure here. So yeah, there's a lot of tooling on the merchant side of things to help understand what's happening.
All right. So, like for example, it's understanding where do I rank for these specific search terms within this specific search engine, right?
Yeah,
Or not search engine, but AI model, for
yeah,
example,
exactly.
right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so
Gotcha.
they can see orders, sale conversions from ChatGPT, Google AI mode, Gemini, you know, Chop, etc. They can see the top AI queries that are leading to sales, what they're ranking for those queries. When products show up in AI conversations but aren't converting, we have maybe some suggestions of what to fix, etc. So lots and lots of tooling inside Shopify admin for this.
Cool. we were talking before and you mentioned someone at Shopify, like building their own Hermes agent to get free stuff built, like sent to their home or something. Like, explain that for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of Shopify employees are using, OpenClaw or I think maybe Hermes more recently. And Tobi, I think he tweeted last week or a couple days ago that he gave his own personal agents, I guess one of them is running on Hermes, and he gave it access to UCP so that because it can access the catalog from Shopify and other places. And he gave it a budget, and I guess created a skill around it. And now he says that he just receives gifts in the mail from his Hermes agents periodically. So it's pretty cool what all of this enables, especially as more and more people are having their own shopping agents. It's like your personal AI shopper. We all wish we could have a personal shopper, but I think agents make that very accessible for us.
So, gifts in the mail, is that from like a free trial that the agent will sign up for and then cancel? Or like how exactly is he getting free gifts in the mail?
Oh, I mean, gifts to him, but he's technically still paying for them. He's a
Gotcha.
yeah, yeah, yeah. His agent is paying for them with a budget that his agent has, so he'd use it
Sure.
as a gift for himself. But it's just, the agents, his agents, and all of our agents, they learn about us, uh, everything we do, not just shopping, but how we run our lives. They help us across the board. So now you can very easily just, give it access to Shopify's catalog. And then it's up to you if you want to give it a budget, if you want to just have it be proactive and suggest products to you that you might like, and then you can build your own experience on how you want to make those purchase. But we proactivity is, just such an important thing as we go into the future that proactive shopping is a very cool thing, I think. And this enables that.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously like a kind of a lot of opportunities here, right? You have like Samsung smart fridges, for example. Right? Like you can kind of be proactive with these agentic functions as well about like ordering food in when you're running low on olive oil, right? It can
Yes.
recognize that.
Yes.
Like there's
Yeah.
there's a bunch of things that could be done here. Um, maybe it's not something you've thought of before, but I'm really curious. So we're talking more of like a business to consumer standpoint, right? Like you have a merchant that's on Shopify, they're selling the products, they want to rank higher so that consumers can find them through AI. But I'm wondering if you guys have thought about like the B2B functionality of something like Universal Commerce Protocol. I wouldn't even know where to start with that, but there has to be kind of some functionality and use cases. Is there anything that you've seen so far?
Not that I've seen, but I know there are like app developers who may be developing like niche or the niche apps that want to create a very specific shopping experience in a certain industry or something like that. Like instead of maybe instead of a global agent searching everything, there may be this niche fashion shopping app that somebody creates, and now they have the ability to build very specifically for fashion and use the catalog API just within that industry so that they can really build a niche product there. And I think this is one area where we see, because this is just a tool available to developers, that people who are not even those businesses or merchants are creating these new apps that use shopping, and merchants are benefiting because they've chosen the sales channel. These developers are benefiting because they're able to create these niche apps that have like instant access to different catalogs. So it is certainly seeing uptick in this kind of niche applications being built.
Hmm. What are you most excited about personally? We spoke about things beforehand. We talked about, and I want to talk more about like the Sidekick app extensions, essentially functions as like an MCP functionality. We're talking about UCP. We're talking about agent to agent marketplaces and functionalities here, the agentic functions and shop. Like you're super hands on with this. So like, and you already seem to be ahead of the curve. But what are you excited about in the future? Like, what's to come?
Yeah, one. I mean, I don't want to give. Maybe I'm going to give an underwhelming answer here, but this is unique to me. But I love one of my workflows for like buying stuff in general is like I take pictures of things, or like I see something, whether it's on TV or in person, or I'm, in someone else's shop, for example, like shop, like maybe workshop, I mean, and I like take a picture of like a cool tool or something that I find useful. I take a picture and then I'll like throughout my day or week, I'll take a bunch of pictures. And a lot of my shopping is actually driven by like referring to pictures that I've taken. And one of the cool things about the catalog API that I like find very exciting is that you can also search by images. So not only can you can not only can you search catalog use fee, the catalogs with image search, but as a developer and someone who has a Hermes agent and this kind of thing, and I use it, kind of like a bullet journal a lot, as well as automated tasks and reminders and whatnot. So the ability to just dump in all the pictures I've taken related to this. I mean, like, hey, can you go research these things, find the best place to buy it, get back to me tomorrow morning with all of this. And that's one of the huge unlocks that personally I'm very excited about. But this, I know whether it's just me that shops like that. I imagine, maybe people go to stores and take pictures of dresses and or whatnot kind of too. But this is, yeah, it's just really, really an interesting scenario that seems so maybe not interesting, but I think is just so powerful. But yeah, I don't know whether, that just fits into like the way that I like to shop and use agents specifically.
Yeah, it's not something that I do personally, but maybe it's kind of due to the nature. Like you said, you're in workshops quite a lot, right?
Hmm.
Right. So like maybe it's just the like I don't know how tools work. I've used
Yeah.
tools before, but there's
Yeah.
probably some very niche tools that you're like, I have no idea what that thing is.
Yeah.
So let me take a picture and figure that out later.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I'm quite ready for the Toby give it a budget and send me gifts all the time scenario.
Yeah.
But definitely it's been great to plug into UCP and have it, send me recommendations, and then, I kind of do the final mile, but I know, some people, I'll just have it ship it automatically, which is, it's fantastic that you can do this kind of thing and this world that we live in.
Is there any pushback whatsoever from your merchants on any of the agentic functions or universal commerce protocol? Like from my standpoint, it seems like a no-brainer, right? Like Google is changing, search is changing. It's all very difficult, and it seems as if Shopify's got people's backs who are merchants. Like let's help your stuff rank because the better your business does, the better our business does. But do you see any pushback? Like, is there? I just want to try steelman the case for a second. Like, is there any negative feedback, or like what are the common kind of complaints, if anything?
Yeah, I haven't heard any, and I think this is probably because, merchants can, they don't have to be on the sales channel. So if they see the benefits of it, then they enable it, and if they don't, then they just don't. So there's no, I don't hear much complaints because I think the people who, don't want to enable this, it's just not enabled. So I think just giving merchants that flexibility has kind of, reduced this.
Another thing that we kind of mentioned briefly before, but is in a similar vein, right? So we've got Universal Commerce Protocol, right? It's enabling people to access these catalog APIs. Again, just like reminds me of MCP. And we spoke before about Sidekick app extensions as well, which
Yep.
from what I understand isn't MCP, but like functions in a very kind of similar hat.
Yep.
So I was wondering if you can kind of explain what's happening there.
Yeah, so back in our December editions, we had talked about Sidekick, getting into enabling app extensions, which allows app developers to plug into Sidekick, both providing it like fetching data that the users are asking for in Sidekick, as well as um, making, updating certain fields and basically using that application via Sidekick, and then, filling forms, automatically kicking into that app, etc. So I think in March we enabled it for a select number of app developers, and I think we had like 20-ish partners at launch, which launched at Editions a couple weeks ago. And the feedback on it has been very positive. I think like Judge Me, Clavio, Loop, Matrixify, all these partners have integrated into Sidekick, and on Twitter I see every day more and more apps doing this. It's one of those things that since Sidekick launched, this was a very heavily requested feature from app developers and merchants actually, because they wanted to use the apps that they've installed and have them tightly integrated with Sidekick, because they're seeing all the value in using Sidekick in general. And they're like, why can't, Sidekick know about this app and the data there? So we've provided the app developers a way to plug directly into Sidekick. And it's, yeah, like you mentioned, it's like MCP shaped or skill shaped. It's basically, Sidekick is searching for relevant apps for any given user query. And if there's a relevant app, then if there's multiple, then it's going to disambiguate. If there's just one, then it's going to go ahead and use that app, and then present it back to the user. And users can also turn off and on these integrations similar to MCP. So it's one of those things we think is a great ask from the community. And it took us some time to figure out how to do it exactly right, but we think we really nailed this one.
Hmm. A lot of this conversation, you have spoken about like feedback that you see on Twitter, for example, or feedback that you see from the community.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering for like you as an individual in your team, how you choose what to build, right? Like you're mentioning this feedback that you're kind of, it sounds as if you've got your finger on the pulse and you're obviously ahead of things in terms of enabling these functions for people. But like, how much do you build out of what you just believe to be right? And how much do you build out of, we've had enough requests for this, thus we will build it?
I think there's no like straightforward answer on this thing. Certainly we're like trying to be ahead of the curve. Like what do people want before they want it kind of thing? Or what do we see happening and how do we get ahead of it and build something really cool? Like how do we build something that people aren't even asking for? And I think this is a great way that we think about it. At the same time, Twitter and the community and these other things is a great way to be like, hey, what did we get wrong? Or, what did we not think of? What could we be doing that we're not doing? What could we be doing better, etc. So this is an important signal as well. And, things going on elsewhere at Shopify and new features being built, and how do we plug into those and make sure, Sidekick has full coverage of the new features across the board. So there's no straightforward answer. It's kind of a little bit of everything.
So Sidekick, I mean, we mentioned it a lot there and we spoke about it last time, but for people unacquainted with it, tell me a little bit more about what exactly Sidekick is.
Sidekick is basically an AI co-founder there for you, right from the beginning when you start your store. It's useful for, small merchants. We're finding, or new merchants, we're finding them use it to help create their themes, help, define their product vision, their business vision. People come in all different stages. Some people just go to, start a Shopify store without any idea, and they can use Sidekick for like brainstorming and discovering, what kind of store they want to build or what kind of business they want to start. We see, very large merchants using it as well, heavily on like analytics, because you can get very deep insights from your store through natural language, which we were seeing is like a huge unlock. But basically, you can do many actions on your store through natural language, and it's just like a more natural interface for people to do things. And as Sidekick increases capabilities more and more, we're seeing, people run their business a lot through conversation, and Sidekick is there to enable that for you. I think one interesting story I have on like the beginning of Sidekick is I think we did a survey at one point where we looked at merchants who, had an entrepreneur in their life who they could ask questions for, and entrepreneurs who didn't. And and then we surveyed them when they first started their store and, a year down the road. And the merchants who started their store with having an entrepreneur that they could ask questions had a much higher success rate of their stores than the ones that didn't. So, one of the vision for Sidekick was, how can we provide that entrepreneurial expert for merchants so that they can ask these questions and as if it's a friend, or, you know, there's no judgment when you ask like Sidekick things, right? Whereas, it's in some ways easier to have this like entrepreneurial expert there, right there for you if you don't have that in your life. So
Break that down a little more for me. Um, we're talking about a co-founder or an expert that is made of artificial intelligence, right? So I'm curious, like, what does its brain consist of? Like, what LLM, if any, does it run on? Um, where is it data coming from? Like, is it gleaning insights from Shopify? Is it tied to larger data sets? Like, where does this advice come from? I was wondering if you could break down more of like the functionality of what makes a great AI co-founder.
yeah, so Sidekick, its architecture is basically an LLM driving it, and this LLM is, you can think of it like as a looping through, different tool calls, or having different skills. This LLM in particular, right now we're running on the Sonnet model from Anthropic, hosted on Google's infrastructure on GCP. And so that's the main model driving Sidekick right now. And
Will that change? Sorry, like, can that be model agnostic?
yep, yeah, this can be model agnostic. We find Sonnet to be quite good for this use case at Agentic and calling tools and being conversational.
Sure, but that's not like a user choice. That's from your side of things.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, cool. And then talk to me about, I want to know where these insights come from. Like, where does this knowledge base come from? How's that updated over time?
Yep, we have knowledge bases internally, like from like basically a knowledge base of how to use Shopify, uh, and then and this is where like it, and then so that's one tool, and I'll come back to that tool. And then there's tools for like natural language to, GraphQL, for example, which is like the underlying language of Shopify. So this is what helps give Sidekick a lot of ability to work with your store, understand your store. There's also one for, analytics, for looking into analytics and this kind of thing. There's many different tools. The knowledge base for Shopify, it's available publicly as well on help.shopify.com, and these documents, and Sidekick's able to look through these documents, and as well as like, Shopify blog posts that we've written and etc. Like Shopify has a lot of public content that they put out there, and Sidekick has access to draw on these things in order to provide its answers.
Here's where my brain goes with this. So I don't think we've touched on it yet. You touched on a pre-conversation. You have this new feature. It's available, campaign autopilot, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, with all these merchants that are now running on Shopify, you know what merchants are successful and how and why, and what ones aren't and how and why. So is that data, that information being used to help kind of feed Sidekick provide the right decisions, right? Because if they've seen someone that's in your vertical spend their campaign budget in this way and use this specific color and hex code in this specific format, and that works and that's generated a lot of sales, does that information feed? Like, are you taking what's right and wrong from other stores and then feeding that into the brain of Sidekick, or is that siloed to each individual merchant?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple points to touch on here, I think. So it's not being used in that way for that campaign, autopilot, for example. This would be, you can give it a budget, you can give it specific guardrails, and you can think of like a Carpathy auto research loop where it's trying certain things, and it's like hyper specific to you, and it's seeing what's working, and it's coming back, and it just keeps iterating. So it's like a research loop, hyper for your store and the exact scenario and the exact campaigns that you're trying to run. Uh, there's a product called SimGym where we are training a basically an AI shopper, uh, so that it can. Have you heard of SimGym before, or have we talked about this?
I think we did speak about it briefly. Basically, from what I remember, is you can emulate buyer behavior based on the current conditions of your store. Am I along the right lines?
Yeah. So we have we're training basically these AI shoppers so that if you show them a version of your store and another version of your store, that you can have these shoppers, like let's say we have 300, try to complete a task on your store, and 300 try to do it on the other version of your store. You made me think of this through like the hex color button thing. So if you want to do something like move the button around or do this or enable reviews or disable reviews, then it's basically like running an A/B test, but without actually having to run a real A/B test against real merchants. So, if you have many, many ideas of what to try, but you're not sure, it's expensive to run it on live traffic and you may be like losing business for the bad ones and whatnot, you can actually run all your ideas with SimGym, maybe take the top two and then do a live A/B test. And I think, the way we built this is that, people have made changes to their store. So when we create these AI shoppers, we're testing that, um, in the past when there's changes to stores that we're saying our AI shoppers are saying the same result as what actually happened on the store. So these AI shoppers or simulators are basically learning to identify real issues that then you can use for A/B testing.
Mm. I mean,
One
so you go,
one
you go.
one interesting thing here that I actually ran on my store, which is like a maple syrup store, is that not only for A/B testing, but you can actually just have it run as a research loop on your store. So even your current theme, in the same way the campaign, auto research Carpathy stuff is like all the buzz right now in the
Can
agentic
you
space.
can you explain that for the audience more as well, like in detail, if possible?
Yeah. So the idea behind the auto research loop, let's say, is that there's some metric that you have. So let's say let's talk about model training for a second. So I want to optimize my model on some metric Y. And so I can, instead of me, analyzing outputs from the model and trying to figure out as a human, what the best improvements I need to make to the data. Like let's say I'm training a cat or a dog classifier or something, and and I have some metric, and I want to optimize for that metric. So you can have an LLM run tests, test that metric, and then look at the results of the test and make suggestions for the next round of the model training. Maybe identified a whole bunch of, bad labels on your training data, or, cats that were dogs, etc. Or like there's some other objects in there. So the LLM is able to make those recommendations, make the changes on its own, run the scripts to retrain the model. When the model's done training, it'll run the evaluations again, look at the evaluations, find all the errors as an LLM, and then make suggestions as an LLM, and then make ideas on how to retrain the model. So it's this loop where an LLM is continuously running, trying to optimize a specific metric. It can be used in almost anything, not just model training.
Okay. Is there a lot of parallels between what's been described here and how a lot of these frontier models were developed in the first place through reinforcement learning?
There can be, yes. Yeah.
Where
Yeah,
what's
I
the
think
difference?
If you like go to a super high level, then yeah, it could be fairly similar. Like reinforcement learning is a some state space or some like environment, and you can carry out an action and look at there's a reward function, like what did this action do and is this good or bad? And then give that signal back to the main model. I guess with an LLM driving this loop, you can do like the LLM itself can make some of the suggestions, whereas in reinforcement learning, maybe you're using like human feedback loops, or maybe you're doing preference optimization between two different outcomes. But yeah, at a high level, it's pretty similar.
Okay. Let's flip things back to Shopify just to finish off. So we've got a lot here. We've got like the Sidekick app extensions. We've got UCP. We talked about Agentic Commerce, Campaign Autopilot, and the Agentic Assistant with Shop. For a user, for a merchant, for someone that uses like the Shopify um store, for someone who uses the website, what should we be excited about coming in the future? Is there anything that you can tell us that's maybe just recently been publicly revealed or will be publicly revealed in 8 weeks when this episode releases?
Uh, yeah, I'm not sure I can say too much on upcoming launches, but I can say that it's it's a very exciting time. I think agents since December have been going through this transformational stage and how people use them, and for both shopping, I think we talk a lot about that. On the Sidekick side of things, I think there's just um, some big improvements that we can make, and I think we're excited to share some of those changes over the next I don't know the timeline, but I think we're building some really cool stuff, and there's reason for you know the 250 million verified shoppers on Shopify, and the millions of merchants to be extremely excited about the future of what we're building.
Sure. Andrew, two things. One, thank you for your time. Two, if people want to find out more about who you are and what you do, how do they go about doing that?
Reach out to me on Twitter or tag me on Twitter. My Twitter is at Drewch, DREWCH. Always happy to talk agents, Shopify, and commerce.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks for having me.